Okay, here we are. We're rolling. Hi, guys. Welcome to the real premiere of the Clean Dirt, the official Symto podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Scott. I'm the social media coordinator here at Symto. I've got a couple guests with me over here. I've got on the far side, other side, Lee Jeffrey, our chief communications officer, and our founder and CEO, right in the middle here, Martin Lees. I'll start with Lee. I'll save Marty for save the the real juicy part for last. Lee, I guess tell us a little bit about your background in music production, content production, and your love of conservation and regenerative agriculture, which is going to be a big part of this, which we'll kind of circle back to closer to the end here.
So I started a radio show 8 years ago, and we call it Sweet Science Radio. And it has led to so many different things. I've met so many different people, putting together soundtracks to life. Anyway, I was in Zurich, I don't know, a few years ago, meeting with, it's a long story, but meeting with a hedge fund investor with my dad. And this guy was talking about buying up sources of fresh water and to trade on the market. And it was a incredible idea because I had never thought about it before, but I guess this was about 2012 maybe. And after thinking about it for a while, it just seemed like the most evil thing on the entire planet that I'd ever heard of. And I don't know if you guys have read here lately, in the last, year, they've started trading futures of clean water on the market. I knew that was coming, and and one night I had this like overwhelming, just punch in the face, like a come to God moment where I was like, what do I need to do to save the world? And it was clear that I needed to use my platform of the radio, to use my voice to help protect clean water. Because if you talk about value and you talk about what at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, what it is that value is based on, what it is that you can take away from a man that could absolutely destroy everything. And it's all based on clean water. Right there. It was kind of a life-changing moment. So I called Meyer Crawford, who's the director of the Cahaba Riverkeeper, which is the river that I've grown up around. It's the longest. It's edit. Hang on a second. It is the most biodiverse river in the lower 48 states. It's in the it's right in the middle of Alabama. I called her to ask her what it was that I could do to just help. And she just, she told me to come meet her. I told her that I had a radio show. I told her that, I have a big heart and I have hands and I want to help. And so that was 6 years ago. Today, I somehow have stuck with this thing, and they've made me the president of the Cahaba Riverkeeper. And we have worked together to raise money to fight for the integrity of clean water in Birmingham, Alabama. And then I met Marty. Marty shows up at my house from space, and we have a mutual friend. Marty starts talking about the value of things. We start talking about regeneration. We start talking about how clean water is super important. And now here I am talking into my phone on a podcast with a guy named Charlie that is friends with Marty. And that's just how life works. It's a long, strange tale of strange events that I've connected together for a bigger meaning to save the world. So here I am.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, one thing just leads on to another, and then here you are. Yeah, well, that's really cool. Your passion for water conservation. And Marty, do you remember the name of the show that we watched on Netflix about like weird economic things? There was like the French wine terrorists, and there was like the avocado cartels.
It was the documentary series Rotten.
Yeah, the documentary. There was a whole episode on that about the water industry.
Yeah.
That
Well
was
worth a look.
that was really eye-opening. That's gonna be my contribution here. I'm just gonna refer to much more intelligent educational things that I've seen that other people can go watch and then associate with me subconsciously.
Look, that's your job, Charlie. That's your role in it. In this thing is the social media manager, right?
Yeah.
You know, those are good shows. That Rotten series is well worth a look.
Yeah. I'll leave
the avocado farmers are hoarding the water, or what's going on with that?
No, there were two separate episodes. There was an episode about like the avocado cartels that are, I guess, I don't know, stealing avocados or stealing avocado money in parts of Mexico, and then there was an episode about like Nestle and the big water companies just sucking up sources of fresh water and selling. Yeah, these people. That's not in my refrigerator at all.
Right, you know, we will talk about that in a sec.
It's hard to get away from it. I think, you know, part of this whole thing is just being conscious to being a better steward of your environment, right? Like, it's a part of a human being's psychological growth that they say, oh, this is not all about me. This is about my environment, because the environment that I grow ends up growing me or killing me, right? So. And it's part of the fractal thing that Marty talks about. And, you know, it's...
The thing is, though, responsibility for this thing, responsibility for a problem that has been caused at the systemic level has been pushed to the consumer. Like, you know, like the system that we provide for you is going to surround you with all this stuff. You are going to have a limited ability to be able to afford the choices that you want to make for whatever reasons you want to make them, either taste or because you want to make better choices for the planet, whatever. You got to find out amount of resources to make those choices. And a lot of the better choices are more expensive, you know.
Right. We're going to spend billions of dollars making this inescapable, and then we're going to put the responsibility on you to make the right choice.
Yeah. Exactly. And you have to pay more to make that right choice. And because you're not doing right, because you failed to have an electric car and to stop using plastic bottled water, well, we now have to tax you more to clean up the mess. You know what I mean? Like this is a solution that we're being sold here. You know? So I don't know. We kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit.
That's okay. We'll definitely we'll get back to that. Well, let me finish introducing you guys. Well, let's go to Marty. Marty, tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to California and to come up with this idea for Symto, the Health and Wellness Social Network.
Gotcha. Well, I don't come from a technology or a finance background, which is probably a bad place to start when you're trying to design a currency and so on.
That's why you're perfect.
Yeah, right. No, my background is military. I was a soldier for 7 years in my youth. Not exactly a flyer. I was a private soldier, but that's where I got my start. And then from there, I went and did private security in the Middle East because I was always happiest when I was deployed. As far as I was concerned, you know, I was a very idealistic young man. Like, this was still service, but I could earn some decent money and I would be deployed more on that. So I went and did that. I thought there's no way that they're going to keep paying me this money for playing around with guns and armored vehicles and stuff like that. I thought this is going to run out eventually. So I needed to graduate. But at this point, I'm still like apolitical. I'm still really not paying attention to what's going on. I just do my job, like, you know. But I made the mistake of going and getting a master's degree in international security studies. So I made myself pay attention. So I'm like, look, the more I started reading, the more I was like, this doesn't make sense at all. Like, the reasons that we're being told that we're in these places and the solutions that we're showing up with don't appear to be having the effect that we're having, right? You know, I mean,
we're missold.
Exactly. It seems to be that we were missold a lot of these wars. Like, you know,
so there are a lot of reasons that you got disillusioned with your old career.
Exactly. You can only be around that stuff for so long before it starts taking a toll on you.
Yeah.
That's totally what it did. So eventually I kind of came home and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and that really took its toll on me as well, because I'd had some experiences during all that time. Like I was away for 13, 14 years in these places and seen some things and been in these heightened environments for long enough that it had some effect on me anyway. So when I did come away from that job, it was adjusting was very, very difficult, and I ran off to California and tried to reinvent myself and tried a bunch of different things. Not all of them recommended. But in the throes of that, I'm still churning over these problems and I'm still reading, and I've on the face of it, I'm telling myself that I've like checked out. You know what I mean? I've moved to California to be the hippie, to be the dropout. Like, you know what I mean? I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever. But my reading habits and that don't kind of belie that. And not to put too fine a point on it, but inspiration struck, let's say, for this thing.
Yeah.
And it came to me all at once, basically in pictures or, in concepts. And I knew what it was, but I couldn't describe it. And Charlie was around for parts of it. In that, since this moment of inspiration, I've been trying to remember what this thing is, trying to put it together, describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Trying to describe a word that you've never heard described before. You know what I mean? Try to describe a concept that doesn't exist yet.
So I mean, what was the what's the seed of this thing? I mean, when you first got this inspiration, and you're during your respite in Northern California, I guess what's the simplest way you think that you would describe that? If you had to tell it to somebody in one sentence, I got an idea to make X.
Yeah. So my partner Claire, she suffers from endometriosis. At the time when all this was coming about, we were thinking about, we were trying to build a page for her to support her community and that kind of thing. So, we were thinking along those lines. When the the first big idea for we knew it had to be a social network for health, right? Because we've been talking about around that time. There was a lot. I think it might have been the time of no, it wasn't the social dilemma. It was before that. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure how the idea of a social network for us came about. You know what I mean? Like we were thinking about a page for Claire, but then it was just bang, and then there was this thing that we were making a social network that paid people for their attention.
Yeah.
And then it was after that when we got back to doing the Red Tent stuff after Christmas, that it was just blown open. It was like, holy shit, we're building a social network that pays people for their attention and is actually good for their health.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And then the whole thing was there then. And then that's when I started describing it to you, that when I think back, right, what was it that actually struck me? Like, what was that core idea, like you said?
Yeah.
And it was a change in relationship, right, between the user and the platform. That was the big thing. Like, I didn't know it at the time. I couldn't put my finger on it at the time, like what it was that I was saying that felt, that gave me that feeling, and we can get as, I don't know how hippy dippy you want to get on this thing, like, but when you know something, it's like the opposite of incongruence, right? It's that feeling that, oh, this fits in with what is,
Yeah.
And that thing that is the fractal that I was talking about earlier. But
harmony.
Yeah. Harmony. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as the social network goes, I mean, you talk about changing the relationship between the platform and the user, which I think is, really at the core of or close to the core of what Symto is trying to do with this, with a new type of social media, or social media in a new context. I guess tell us about some of the problems that you see with social media as it is. What's going wrong there, and then how is Symto gonna come in and fix that?
Right on. Well, So there's two issues, right? Because there's a problem with media in general, and then there's a problem with social media, insofar as the technologies themselves that are designed to be addictive, paint an unrealistic picture of the world, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Media in general is doing that as well, right? I think we really have to talk about this thing from one layer up from there, right? From the financial layer, right? This thing was originally like the kind of kernel of thought that bore this thing was about the social network, right?
Right.
But we knew it would need to be a social network that pays the users for their attention.
Right. Which is really how we're, I guess that's the main point of how we're kind of flipping this relationship, because right now you have these social media platforms where basically you are the product, or your attention is the product.
Yeah.
And these we're big fans of a documentary called The Social Dilemma, which you mentioned earlier, that gives a really, really good picture of how these addictive and manipulative algorithms basically feed social media users into an echo chamber. Where was I going with that?
Yeah. No, but you're right though.
To just basically, that act like a vortex for your attention, like an attention black hole, basically.
It perpetuates fuckery.
Yeah, perpetuates fuckery.
Exactly.
Yeah, the goal is not to inform you. The goal is not to educate you. The goal is just to hold your eyeballs long enough to show you another ad and another ad and another ad. Like, that's it.
Right.
Because that's what the relationship is.
Right.
And that's celebrated. Excuse me.
Right.
That's celebrated. That's the open market. That's like, like nobody's supposed to be trying to guide you into anything or whatever. Everyone's just supposed to be trying to get your money or trying to make more money. That's all that matters. So
right.
You end up with this toxic environment where you're just fed whatever keeps you there. Like, that's it.
And it becomes it becomes an abusive relationship, because what are you getting out of that besides lost sleep and maybe cat videos, which we all like, don't get me wrong, but
at best though as well. Like, if you're a young girl, like, what do you get? You get a very distorted view of yourself. How's that good for everybody? It doesn't appear to be.
Right. And those distorted self-images, I mean, we can see, he talks about this in The Social Dilemma again, the correlation between the rise in social media use and the rise in suicide and suicide attempts for teenage and even pre-teenage girls have just like absolutely skyrocketed in the last 10 years or so.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole deaths of despair phenomena, including addiction and suicide. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing, we're on the steep end of the hockey stick in all these things.
Right.
But like I said, like, this is just one symptom of the greater problem of the extractive economic model that we have. And I talk about it in the ebook, which we should probably mention. That we've
we're going to be turning that white paper, amazing white paper that Marty wrote, into an ebook. We'll make that a little bit more accessible for everybody.
Yeah. Regenerative Economics is the name of the theory behind the technologies that we're building, right?
Yeah.
So the extractive economic system, right? What do I mean when I'm talking about that, right? I'm talking about the fact that when our money is created by our financial system, and I say our, I'm talking about the United States. You might notice from my accent that, I'm from England. I live in the United States. And it doesn't matter, because this is where money begins in the world, pretty much. You know, obviously speaking hyperbolically, but if you're going to make a difference in economics in the world, this is where you got to start. So,
sorry, go ahead.
When money is created, it's brought into existence with debt, right? When we talk about the national debt, like, not a lot of people know what is being spoken about there. There are a few different avenues in which the Federal Reserve can create money. And then different people can own the debt, but mostly it's the Federal Reserve themselves that hold this debt. I think I sent you lads an article the other day that for the first time ever, the debt is due to be, before even the stimulus, very much needed stimulus package, don't get me wrong, for COVID is even counted. For the first time, the national debt is bigger than the GDP.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean? Right. What does debt mean? Right. Debt means interest. It means money lent for interest. It means making money from money. That value's got to come from somewhere. Right. The money manipulation markets, when you play stocks and so on, and you know, everybody's got to do what they got to do to survive in this world. Not denigrating anybody for making money the way they make money, but through those manipulations, these clever, different devices through which this guy gets to make more money from money that already exists, right? It's not processing any value. It's just making money from money. It's called financialization, okay? It creates this unrealistic, just like we were talking about, the media creates an unrealistic view of reality. Money manipulation and interest creates an unrealistic financial hologram, right? An economy should be a holographic representation of the value being processed by the industries that it represents, right? Once you start adding interest into that and add other types of money manipulation where everybody's just trying to make their money from their investments, that hologram becomes unfaithful, right? When you get some shenanigans going on in one particular sector of the economy, a la 2008 subprime mortgage bubble, that lack of fidelity becomes a bust situation, right? Becomes a correction, a massive, massive correction that affects none of the people that caused it, you know?
Yeah.
Like very few. Like when it starts raining suits off Wall Street, you know, it's not the key players that are wearing those suits. You know what I mean? Does that mean? Maybe that was a little savage.
No, I think it was great. You know,
yeah, no, that's good.
My simple mind wants to say, if you go and you look at a garden and you look at the economy of the way nature works, what you're describing, a debt-based economy, is almost exactly opposite of the way nature is, right?
Absolutely.
Because all you need is a seed to grow the plant that makes multiples more seeds, and then the sweat equity that you put into it to make the plants grow to make more seeds create more gardens, and we're so far from that.
No, exactly that. It's like you know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, like, but it's like well, let's see if I can carry through your seed analogy. We can always edit this out, right?
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like having a pack of 100 seeds, right? And you know, you've got 100 seeds, so you can plant, you know, 100 whatever your veggie of choice, you know, for the following year. But you're like, well, I want to have more seeds than that. So what I'll do is I'll come in here every week and I'll just write that there's one more seed in this bag on the packet. You know what I mean? I'll do that every week. So then when winter comes around and I plant these seeds, I'm going to have more seeds. You're not going to have more seeds. You know, you got to try and get those fucking seeds from somewhere.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, does that metaphor carry through?
Yeah. Well, everybody comes looking for their seeds. You know, some people are going to get them, but you know, we're oversold on seeds.
Right.
So there aren't as many seeds as the ledger, you know, would purport that there are.
So Alan Watts put it really well.
Yeah.
He said he equated it to inches. Like, you know, when you're on a job site, you're on a construction site, whatever. You have your materials, you got your wood, you got your metals, and all the rest of it. But you don't run out of inches. You know what I mean? And we count the inches, and I put it the way that I put it in the paper was that we'd lost sight of what value is altogether. Right? I say this thing a lot. You guys are probably sick of hearing me say it. Value is a measurement of meaning, right? when you lose sight of that, that's when these mistakes happen, right? What meaning is being measured by your value?
Mm-hmm.
When you're counting your money, it's got to be faithful to the real world meaning that it represents. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a good example of that infidelity is, just in 2020, during the pandemic, when you had basically 4 tech companies is absolutely skyrocket, kind of inflating our perception of the stock market, which inflated our perception of the economy and created an extremely unfaithful hologram. And it looked like the economy was in fact struggling mightily, while 4 of the biggest tech companies on earth were just skyrocketing.
Exactly.
And what meaning is the value that those companies hold? What meaning is that actually processing?
Right. Exactly.
For people who are out of work and who are struggling financially, which is like most of the country. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now look, this is a problem that has been it's a problem for which the technologies to solve have only recently become available to us. But it is an old problem. We know that it's an old problem. Like I mentioned again in the book, that this is a problem that's mentioned in I think all of our traditional texts, like usury. It's known as usury.
Mm-hmm.
Lending money for interest is known as usury. It's banned in the Islamic faith. It's banned in Judaism, and it's banned in biblical Christianity. I believe. You know what I mean? We disregard most of these things, and whatever your opinion is on whether we should or we shouldn't. I'm not a particular religious guy, but when you're looking at problems that a 100-year-old system appears to have caused, I think it pays to kind of go to some of these texts that were written over a long, long time to see, well, maybe there are some patterns that you can only spot over generations.
Right.
There may be some baby in this bathwater.
They've had a little bit.
That we should
they've had
pay
a lot
attention
more time to capture that data.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Second law of thermodynamics, right? Any system will impose some cost, right? A perfect system is one in which your input and your output are identical, right? But no system can do that. You're always going to lose something. With our financial system, those costs are one of the key products, right? Like that's the opposite of efficient.
Yeah.
Like a system has to be fundamentally corrupt. But by definition, surely a system is fundamentally corrupt when one of its key products is the cost of the system.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a basic premise to work from. Besides anything else, right? If you think I sound like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, forget everything. I've said everything else, right? That is the truth. We know that is a truth. That is the way that the system works, right? It works on interest and this, right? We have this attitude towards it that it's kind of it's a necessary evil of the system.
Mm-hmm.
We now live in an era where that is no longer necessary. Blockchain is a miracle of computer science and mathematics, right? What blockchain gives us is an infinitely small yardstick for which to measure our economy, right? Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, you can track it very well. You can faithfully represent the meaning being processed by your industries at the most granular level, right? So we can do that. So regenerative economics, the application of it, I've called the compartmentalized organic regenerative economy, or core economy, right? Made up of platforms for each industry, known as decentralized regenerative industry platforms, right? The first one we're going to build, called Symto, is the health platform. and it is designed to operate as an autonomous, not-for-profit entity on which the businesses of the health industry can process their meaning, process their value, transact value between each other. All right?
Yeah.
It exists, and you can use it, and that's that. There's no banning. It's there. It belongs to the industry. It belongs to the people. That's it.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're kind of following the same thread that I wanted to follow, but maybe from a different direction. So we kind of we talked about the unfaithful hologram of value that is our economy, and it sounds like we have unfaithful holograms at every level here. In our economy and in our media, particularly social media.
Yeah.
So how do those come together in Symto, and how does Symto and I guess blockchain would be the tool that allows us to take a more accurate and a more faithful measurement of the value that our economy is processing through the decentralized regenerative economy that we're building with Symto. So how does that concept work in the context of this social network that helps you take care of your health?
Gotcha. So where should we start here? It's called a DRIP, right? DRIP, Decentralized Regenerative Industry Platform. Okay, so industry, we know what that means. Platform, we know what one of those are, right? Decentralized, meaning that the platform itself, the software behind the platform, the app that you use, the website that you go to, is decentralized. It doesn't exist on anybody's server. It is spread throughout all the users that use it, using a system called the Interplanetary File System. You can look at what that up is. I don't want to get too much into the technical stuff, but what it means is that nobody owns this thing. That it really just it exists in the ether for people to use.
Yeah.
Regenerative. What does that mean? So I described our current system as extractive, right? And I can't remember which one of you guys said, but it is antithetical to natural systems, right? When we look at our systems, it's a matrix of overlaid, interdependent, advancing cycles, right? Self-organizing toroidal systems laid on top of each other in gross and subtle ways that we're only barely scratching the surface of being able to understand. In a lot of ways, and in other ways, we have ancient wisdom that came from observing these cycles over thousands of years.
Yeah,
like they are there. They're as real as anything gets, right? We ignore them at our peril. Like when we do ignore them, suffering increases. Like we notice this tension against them, and then it snaps back. The economic manifestation of that is this boom and bust cycle. Things become unfaithful to reality, to the objective truth of that economy, right? It's the snapback where the bad things happen.
Yeah.
Where was I getting up to with this thing? Okay, so the drip. So how do you make a social network regenerative? Well, it's so hard to get your arms around this thing, right?
Totally.
That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Currency and information. I would just go back to. I mean, if this okay.
So currency and information are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Currency is basically a metaphor for labor that has been done. You know what I mean? For meaning that has been processed for somebody else at a previous time. Like you then get this token for that. It's like I process this much meaning for this person. Can you now process this much meaning for me, in exchange for this token, which you can then go get processed for some meaning later, right? That's the way that, money is a shorthand for that process. Like that's what we're talking about. So when you start to look at a social network, like it's all the same thing. Like a social network and a payment network becomes the same thing. certainly in terms of blockchain. Like blockchain doesn't give a shit what it is that's being transacted. It's a matter of a label, a class really, as to what is being transacted. Blockchain gives us the opportunity to treat all transactions with the same level of security, reliability, traceability, and all this. I've got no interest in being like an untraceable currency for drug dealers and whatever. That's not what this thing is about, right? This thing is about truth and fidelity and being able to undo transactions that weren't supposed to be made and stuff like that. Like I'm not interested in having millions of dollars of this thing stuck on somebody's stick. That's not, when we talk about security, it's about you having control of your data and being able to get it to the people that you need to have it reliably, securely, and so on. Have I gone off on a tangent? Maybe.
A little bit.
So you get the idea. Like, so the currency and information transference become the same thing, like as far as the blockchain is concerned, right? Mm-hmm. So we're building the social network, like you said, a place where you manage your health online in the form of posts, right? The posting and scrolling functionality that we've all become familiar with works for holding your attention, for getting you to represent your life online, right? It's a good system. You get addicted to it. It's that good. The only problem is with it that we're using it for meaningless things, right?
Right.
We're using it to create this unfaithful hologram of reality. It's not going away though. So what we have to do is create a competing system that uses it for something worthwhile. Okay. So we're doing that, right? Our posting system, you make posts about your health, whether it's how you feel, your diet, activity, treatments, and sleep. You make posts, tag your friends, add media, you add your recipes. The platform itself turns those recipes into nutrition information. All that data is graphically represented to you so you can track your health. The merest fact that you're paying more attention to your health is more than likely going to improve it anyway. But not only that, because the ads on the platform are paying you in the cryptocurrency, in the digital currency, for your attention. All right, so you're incentivized to upload your health. You're incentivized to pay attention to your health and consume content and learn more about how to take care of yourself and so on.
Right.
The digital currency is you're being paid for provides the backbone. Provides the infrastructure for a payment system. So businesses that use Symto, they don't pay any subscription. They sign up with their business bank account and so on, and then they can process payments using the Symto system to their customers.
Sorry. Businesses, could the businesses have access to the data of the users so that they could be connected to the users they're trying to sell to? Or
that's what happens now with. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, mate.
No, go ahead.
So that's when we talk about data access. The social dilemma and so on. They're talking about like who's looking at that data, and it is largely for advertising purposes that data is being accessed. With Symto, so you're uploading your health data. You can control who has access to it at a very granular level. It's one of the things that is important to us that we've, right from the get-go, we want your data to belong to you. The decentralized nature of the network makes that possible. Mm-hmm. So you choose who gets to see it. Similar to the advertisements, like the advertisement pays the user directly for their attention. Whenever somebody queries our database, that query too pays the users, whichever users it has bumped up against in its search. So your data becomes sort of a passive asset for which you get paid a token that subsidizes your health and wellness expenses.
So I'm a regenerative farmer and I have food that I want to sell. I think it would be helpful if there was if you could give an example of like an everyday, like a user that got on from odds, like say that from the dairy farmer to the guy with some health issue that he wants to address and be connected with people that can help him.
Yeah.
I think that would help. That would help me at least. Like,
okay. All right. So
before we do that, probably be an edit, but like that might not be part of what we're trying to do tonight, Charlie, and you're in charge. So
no, that's totally cool. I mean, that's kind of what I was gonna say is I'm imagining this as like it's like a spiral, it kind of this whole economy, starts with this Symto user, this social media user who's kind of at the center here, who gets paid in our proprietary digital currency, Sim token, in exchange for their attention. And then what they do with that currency kind of takes us out to the next circle around them, which is the health and wellness businesses, like your spa, your gym, your farmer, maybe your farmer's market, that use Symto's merchant services. So I guess how do those two layers connect?
Right. So yeah, like you said, the users using the platform, they're getting paid the Sim tokens and so on, right? Mm-hmm. The businesses are advertising on the platform. They're advertising their health and wellness goods and services to motivated customers, to customers that are interested in the health and so on, and they are being paid in a gift card or whatever, for want of a better term, to come and spend at your business. Not only that, the merchant services on Symto are subscription free. You only pay a transaction fee, which we can get into that later. So yeah, I mean that's what connects those two. Did I miss something there?
No, I think you got it. I mean, so that's where was I going to go with this?
So, obviously the business has their presence online.
Right.
The sort of line between business and content creator is blurring now. A lot of businesses are making their own content. But I guess content creator is kind of another class of user as well. The way that we set it up, though. So if you are a content creator, let's talk about a use case again real quick. That's probably not a bad idea, like I said. So me as a user, there are two places I can be on Symto, right? I can either be on our real estate, on Symto's real estate, where I'm making a post or I'm filling out my whatever, my profile, or I can be viewing somebody else's content that they've already posted, right? Well, if you're on our real estate, you're getting paid directly for any ads that you are shown during that process. You're just getting paid. But if you're on somebody else's content, there's a split there. It's like the content creator is getting paid some of some of the advertising revenue for the attention that they've generated, and you're getting paid a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there is no monetization line for like you've got to have this many followers before you start getting paid for your content. You know what I mean? You get it right away. Like everybody gets the same deal. But if you've got more of a following, of course, you're going to start clocking up more revenue. But you see, it's a more direct. Nobody's going to demonetize. Nobody's getting. It's like you show up. If you generate attention, then you're earning.
Right. The platform or whoever's in control of the platform, which is essentially nobody because it's decentralized, is it's not going to be the arbiter of the content and who gets paid for their content. It's a self-sustaining system. When you enter that system, self-sustaining via this, via the interplanetary file system, blockchain, smart contracts, all that stuff. And you can enter that ecosystem, share as much or as little of your data as you want, use it as much or as little as you want. And you get paid in Sim tokens directly. So there's not the same sort of middleman or like this landlord of the platform, so to speak, that is skimming off whatever they want. I mean, we do charge a fee for the sale of sim tokens to advertisers.
So we can get into that,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is beyond that, that marketplace essentially is a social marketplace of users paying attention to their health, content creators, and health and wellness businesses. With this that are all linked together in this regenerative cyclical economy with our token, sim token.
It's built on the token. That it's essentially built on the token, right?
Right.
Let's talk about the nature of the token for a second then.
Yeah.
All right. So sim token is known as a stable coin, right? That means that it is backed by tangible assets that guarantee the value of that token, right? There are many kinds of stable coin that are being developed all the time. The collateral that they're based upon varies between dollar, fiat currency of various kinds, real estate, other cryptocurrencies, all kinds of stuff can be used, right? Excuse me. For us, dollars in a bank account is the collateral. When somebody buys sim token for whatever reason, the dollars paid for those sim tokens stay in a bank account and represent the value of those sim tokens, right? To keep it simple, sim tokens are bought basically for two purposes. The first purpose being for advertisements. An advertiser buys them to charge their ads up. Those ads pay users directly. The other where they are bought is through the payment system, right? When a user goes to a spa, let's say for a massage, they have $5 worth of sim tokens from using the platform. Massage costs $45. They've got to pay the other $45, right? So they swipe their card at the spa. On the Symto platform, that is processed as a $45 purchase of sim tokens that are transferred to the spa owner, right? Automatically. To the user, it just looks like a credit card payment, totally the same experience.
So we have the sort of social marketplace. I like that term. I think maybe we should start calling it a social marketplace instead of a social. You have the social marketplace where sim tokens are transiting through this regenerative economy that basically runs on this decentralized regenerative industry platform, or DRIP. And obviously we charge for the charge a small fee for the sale of sim tokens, because we do have to keep the network running for maintenance and whatnot. But the profit that comes off of that, I think the thing that really sets Symto apart is that it's not like a Facebook or a YouTube, which I guess is essentially Google, where it's run for profit. It's not run for profit at all. So the value that we are getting out of this regenerative economy is going back into not the marketplace itself, but it's going back into this regenerative cycle with
let me try
in regenerative farming. So let's go into that and where we're putting that.
So right. So sim token is a stable coin, right? Meaning that is backed by real collateral, right? The collateral in sim token's case is the bank account. Whenever sim tokens are purchased, a 2% fee is charged, right? Well, the most basic example being for advertisements. When an advertiser buys $100 worth of sim tokens for their ads, they pay $102. $1 of that fee comes to Symto for our operating fees, right? It goes through the decentralized automated organization that is Symto. Another thing that we can get into probably in a different podcast. But that goes to paying for the system itself. Remember the second law of thermodynamics, right? Like that is our cost. There's always going to be some cost. The other 1% of the fee goes back into the collateral. Doesn't add another sim token, but adds value to all the other sim tokens that are in existence, that are in circulation, right?
Right.
So then the coin becomes not only stable, backed by that collateral, but appreciate, right? so long as people are using the platform, right? So long as value is coming in to Symto from the outside economy, it is that process is accumulating value for Sim token, right? So eventually we're going to amass this this collateral, right? This bank account of money. It is still vulnerable to the boom and bust cycle of the dollar system, right? Of the debt-based economy. If we leave it in dollars, so what to do with it? We can offer it as interest-free loans to food producers that are engaging in or wish to engage in regenerative practices. Right now, this is Lee's wheelhouse. This is why when Lee and I spoke all those many moons ago about this thing, he got it right away. Like, and Lee wanted to be involved. I just talking to him about his passion for protecting water and land. I knew he was the guy. You know, like you can see the problem that I have and have had from the start with this thing. Like it is very difficult. It's a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
Which is the this is the obscurity that the problems that we have hide behind. That people think that it can't be another solution. People think that the only solutions we've got are either what we have or communism. You know, like that's basically this is what we're being told, and nothing else can be considered. You know, like make no mistake about it. Like this is a dissident economic theory, right? We should consider ourselves dissident economists, right? Number one, because it sounds cool,
right?
But it's just the truth. Like it's really what we're doing. We're probably going to find that we come up against a lot of opposition, and there are certainly legislative opposition in play right now. The Stable Act is going directly for stable coins. Part of that act is to obligate all stable coins to have collateral holdings with the Federal Reserve, right? Completely negating all chances of competition with this supposedly private entity.
Right.
All right.
What's an example of a stable coin that's on the market now?
Charlie?
I think DAI is a stable coin. I'm gonna look it up. Coinbase. Well, Tether. I guess Tether is the biggest one by market cap. That's tethered to the US dollar. So
okay.
Charlie's my memory. He's the hive mind. But yeah. So they're going for that. Now I'm all for regulation. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Like of course, not everybody in the crypto game is playing with a straight bat.
Yeah.
But regulation should be driven.
Definitely shouldn't let us just do whatever we want, because that would be cool.
You let me do whatever I want because I'm a saint.
Right.
Yeah. In India just banned cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they're very crypto averse. They really are.
That's interesting to me. That's just so.
But that's why we got to write this thing. We got to write this thing as clearly as we can for how neutral it is. You know what I mean? For how.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Somebody revving their engine up.
My neighbors have a Camaro that they like to, speed up and down my 200 yards of a small neighborhood street.
Roll Tide.
About it. Yeah. What was I saying now? Where was I at? Okay. Oh yeah. And the other thing is, as well as the legal access to encrypted data act.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was the legal access to encrypted material act. I was like, the lame act. That's great. No, it's encrypted data. It's another one. You know what I mean? And there's one from either side of the aisle.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what pie you support. Right. It just depends. Just pursuant to whatever emotional trigger they need. They need to pluck to make you do what they want.
And they're going to the other thing. each
Go on.
time.
Say again, mate.
They will cause. They will get whatever they want on the snapback from each one.
Exactly that. Yeah,
Right.
like one side will be like, let's stick it to the rich with this stable bill, and the other side's like, well, let's think of the children. We need this legal access to whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
It's just all part of the same system, and it's just this big, it's this big rubber band that just kind of keeps snapping back and forth, and we're in the middle of it. We're just along for the ride.
I want to.
I can't remember who it was that I heard call it. They called it the corporate mono party.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So basically, the picture that I'm getting of this is that this what this decentralized social marketplace that runs on our proprietary digital currency that generates this value, and the profit from that being reinvested in something that is going to be good for the planet, and that's going to be good for people's access to nutrition and whatnot, which is regenerative agriculture, which are going to be the assets that our stable coin is backed up by. Is where's it going with this? I'm losing my train of thought on these long. That's basically our path to a more faithful economic hologram. What are you gonna say, Lee?
Say that again, because what you're saying is really important. But
yeah. So this is kind of, well, this circles right back to the problem that we started with, that you're talking about, Marty, about this unfaithful economic hologram. That all of this financialization and this debt from money that is produced out of literally nowhere is coming from with this regenerative social marketplace that runs on this blockchain based digital currency, and the profit from that being reinvested into regenerative agriculture products, which have a place on have a perfect place in the social marketplace as well, to give value, to give tangible value to Sim token, to the coin, through that collateral, is that's our path to a more faithful hologram of the economy, a more regenerative economy, and a more truthful economy, I would say.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it returns that toroidal flow to the industries that it's representing as well. Like we've spoken about the Symto drip, like that's one, the health economy, like by far the most urgent one, right? Because when we talk about regenerative practices in food production, we're talking about carbon drawdown.
Yeah.
We're talking about the biggest issues, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where one of these drips fits in. Like you're not talking about a tiny sliver of the economy. You're talking about one of these things serving a big chunk, from food production through self-care to medicine, right?
Right. Everything that affects your health and wellness.
Right. The next one, perhaps, we have a few ideas we've spoken about, but perhaps the next one will be real estate, right? And the social network will be, everything that is Zillow, that is, property repair, TikTok, that, a place for all that, because we know that exists. Extreme makeover, home edition, clips, like all that stuff.
Totally.
Sharing the knowledge of how to repair your home, of how to take care of your land, and so on. In the best ways, the best practices, and so on. And then at the other, through hardware is the businesses in the middle.
Right.
Like that whole thing.
Tradesmen. Call it the spider web. It's in every corner of your home. Yeah.
Not bad, Charlie.
Just an idea. Just
you can keep your job for now.
Okay, for now. one more joke.
You've got everything from hardware stores to tradesmen and so on. So again, like the similar that we're doing with the health industry, you're providing this low friction marketplace for small businesses. And it's because right now we've got this huge effort to gut small businesses and push everything to huge conglomerates, right? To huge corporations, right?
Totally.
We're the opposite of that, right? We're the anti-pressure to that, right? That's what we got. That's what we have to. That's what I would like us to conceptualize. The merchant services part of that. The key focus is to provide a low friction marketplace for the smaller businesses as we can, as small as businesses we can. And then so to kind of round it out, if we keep imagining the real estate model, then the loans that you have at the other end, you can start giving interest-free mortgages and so on. To people that are trying to buy, or that are interested in having built properties involving regeneratively sourced materials and X, Y, and Z. You get the idea. But you can fit this in to. I started breaking it down by like energy. But like what when you think about an industry, when you think about health, or you think about real estate, right? And then you break it down the way we just broke it down there. It's not just real estate. You know what I mean? It's like the energy of nesting that is represented in that thing. Because it's not just where are you gonna. It's not just where you're gonna lay your eggs. It's where you're gonna get the twigs from. It's where you're gonna. It's
Right.
It's how have birds made nests from our species all this time, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
all in there. You're processing all that meaning at the most granular level.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I mean, is there anything is there anything else we want to touch on in this, or
just that we need support. We've written an ebook. We're going to put that out. Exactly how we're going to distribute that, I'm not sure. Might ask for donations for that. But certainly support us at this podcast. Supporting us here, you're supporting us the conversation around these incredibly important issues. But you're also supporting the development of these technologies that we can really use to offer some real alternatives.
Yeah. I was kind of I guess go into that at the end here. I mean, that's the that's the basic idea. I mean, that's your introduction to Symto. If you guys have stuck with us thus far, we appreciate you. We appreciate you hanging in there. I know there's a lot of it's a long conversation. There's a lot of big ideas, and it requires a long conversation to really flush out. But that's what we're building. And we started this podcast to start conversations around these issues. And to elucidate some of these a little bit more esoteric issues that are not well understood, like blockchain and the economy. But that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be having more conversations about the economic issues that we're tackling, the ecological issues that we're going to be tackling with regenerative agriculture, the issues with social media. We're probably going to be interviewing some really cool people, some giants in some of these industries. Maybe not giants, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll work our way up. In future podcasts. So yeah, if you guys are interested in what we're building, if you're interested in these conversations and you want to support Symto or you want to support the podcast, I will I'll put up a link to our Ko-Fi. If you guys aren't familiar with Ko-Fi or Coffee, it's like the newer, hipper Patreon. Where you can donate to this project. Buy us a coffee. You can donate as little as $3. That's where the name comes from. So we'll put that up, and really appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully what?
Hit us up with any questions.
Yeah, for sure. Hit us up.
The idea of this thing is to have the conversation. Like this needs to be a conversation. You can see how much is in it. It's got to be a two-way thing. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, you can comment on this.
Thank you, Marty, for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you so much.
Up with this idea. It's brilliant, and I think it's going to help people stay healthy and happy. And maybe we'll break the system all at once, all together.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
not going to break the system. We're going to regenerate the system.
Regenerate the system.
Well, there's that.